Hi, and welcome to What's Important to You with me, James Dean. On the show, I will be talking to people from all walks of life and asking them the question, what's important to you? Because I believe once we understand what's important, then we can build the life that we truly want to live. I hope you are inspired by the guests that I talk to and answer that question for yourself and build the life that you truly want. You can support the show by clicking on the subscribe button, sharing your favorite episode, or leaving your comments. Thanks for watching. Today's guest is a personal trainer and owner of Move It Fitness. Her online strength and fitness classes, which run live 7 times a week, have been helping women to feel stronger and fitter since 2020. Her online and in-person programs are focused on motivating and changing mindset to enjoying the fitness journey while feeling empowered with a positive mindset. She lives with her husband and 4 children in Dublin 24. Today, we find out what's important to Ursula Frawley. Hi, Ursula. Thank you so much for joining me today.
James, how are you?
I'm great. I'm really looking forward to chatting to you. We've been trying to arrange this for a long time, but first time our schedules have met, so I am absolutely delighted that you're here.
Me too, James. Me too. And I've been dying to chat to you actually. And
Yeah.
I've always kind of had it, your question in the back of my head since you've asked me. So I think that's kind of always been there, but it's given me a real chance to think about it now. So
Brilliant. Well, talking of it, let's kick it straight off. But that's with the first question, as always. So, Ursula, what's important to you?
okay, so what's important to me, James? It's important to me that women, especially, are celebrated, encouraged, and supported in the exercise space and in the fitness space. So I tell you a little bit of a background around that, where I think this is where it's coming from. Okay, so
Yeah.
I mightn't sound like I am, but I actually am American. Okay, you might think, okay, that's a bit odd, but I actually am. My family all lives in the States, and I moved from Meath here in Ireland when I was 11 over to the States and lived there for 10 years during all my high school and college.
Right.
Now, when you can imagine, if you move over from, the fields of, like, there was fields around me in County
Yeah.
Meath, and I move over to New York, it's a completely different environment. And I think it was it was an environment that I thought, like, you think, oh, it's the same. 11-year-olds are the same everywhere you go. But when I got into school and when I started to kind of communicate with my peers and all that, I actually felt like somebody could, like, I was wondering, could somebody just give me a handbook? Like, could they tell me,
Yeah.
like, what to do, what to say when somebody says this? It actually means this, and it took me a couple of months to get there.
Yeah.
I got there, but that feeling, I think, has always been with me. And I think that feeling of coming into a space where there's lots and lots of people around you who are really, really comfortable, but you're not.
Yeah.
And you're like going, I don't really know what to do here. Like, where do I start? Do I go this way? Do I go that way? Do I talk to that person? And I think a lot of women feel like that in the exercise and gym environment, James. They
Yeah.
are afraid. They don't know what they're supposed to do next. They get a little bit uncomfortable. And then a lot of times they shy away then from
Yeah.
it. Now, as I said, my experience turned out great in the end. But for me, I think it's always been with me, that feeling that I want to make somebody, women especially, feel like when they come into the exercise space, that they're celebrated, they're encouraged, and they're properly supported. Like, I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do together so that you feel empowered, comfortable, and I'm going to do everything in my power to encourage you and celebrate your wins. So
Powerful.
that's what's
Yeah.
important to me. There's a lot of things important, but that's a big part of
Yeah.
that, what's important to me.
100%. And yeah, I mean, it's it's really powerful, and I love the analogy of the comparison that you shared in relation to that. And we're going to go back into that more as well, because I have to learn more about that. It's as part of your life in America. But what I find really powerful about what you shared there about it's the three words that you used. It was, celebrated, supported, encouraged, I think were the words that you used there in relation to those women. Not one of them mentions weight loss. Not one of them is mentioning about dress size or inches, or so, because that in a sense of the world of exercise, was that a deliberate approach that you took when you were kind of going into this sort of world of the fitness world as such?
That's super interesting, actually, James, because you hit the nail on the head. It's actually not deliberate, but it's actually intentional. Because for me, that's the space that I feel that women feel the most comfortable. Because actually, James, it doesn't start in the gym, and it doesn't start with the exercises. It starts actually in your mind, and it starts with whether you enjoy what you're doing, whether you feel that you're getting anywhere, whether you feel like this is like, there's no one way.
No.
And this is why we have to sort of embrace all the different ways and say, well, it's not about, if your goal is if you're so caught up in this size and diet and all this mentality, you lose the joy and the encouragement and the fun that you can have with it all. So when you ask me, was it deliberate? It's probably just maybe subconsciously intentional.
Yes.
Probably the best way to answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's and I think it's from, obviously, because I know absolutely you're working in primarily with women, but even like, and I've spoke about this before on the podcast, in the sense of my time working kind of as a PT previously, a couple of, good few years ago, part-time and things. And I still, and it's changing, because the more I talk to people working in the fitness profession, that there has to be this continual shift away from just the numbers, in my opinion. Because as much as like so many people, the reason they may take up sort of getting back into physical fitness exercise, that was my intention, was to lose weight, to fit into smaller clothes. So I can't say that wasn't the reason why I started, but it was very quickly realized, actually, the biggest shift for me was when I found out something, as you said, that I enjoyed and found fun. The change in my body or weight loss or all of those things was a byproduct of me having fun. And that's the way I look at it. So because I think, to use the Irish phrase, if you're already thinking about the numbers, you're just knocking the crack out of it. There's zero crack if that's the only focus. Like, do you know what I mean?
That's exactly it. Zero crack.
Yeah.
James, zero crack. And the thing is that women especially have this, they've been bombarded with this whole like good bad mentality. I think we all have, sorry, it's not just women, but it's this whole good bad mentality, like what's good food, what's bad food, and oh, that's great, I'm gonna have the apple tart because I deserve it. And like, the thing is, James, you always deserve the apple tart. You always deserve it. So what makes you feel like just because you've done X, Y, and Z that all of a sudden you feel like you always deserve that. And all the other pieces that you're doing, all the walking and the enjoying the outdoors and going for a little bit of feeling the accomplishment of jogging 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers or walking a park run, the joy you get out of that is to me completely separate to the cake and the, so it's very, I'm very passionate about that, and that's my message that I give out, that we, but at the same time, I do understand that people will have initial goals, like you said, James, and I'll honor those and respect those, and that's 100% what's brought you here to me. But the journey that we spend together, I hope, for people, will be fun and encouraging and positive. And that we're going to find things that you enjoy and find a space in your day that it doesn't feel like pressure and all this stress to do this thing that I have to do today. It's like, no, I'm going to go enjoy my workout.
Yeah.
I'm going to go enjoy this, you know. And I have this saying, my members will know from nearly every class that I have, because all my classes are 30 minutes. I'll always say, guys, we are going to be done and dusted in 30 minutes. And we're going to enjoy, we're here.
Yeah.
Like, to me, in the back of my head, I'm saying, right, we're here now. Let's enjoy it. And so I say to them, right, guys, done and dusted, 30 minutes, you know. So, but I guess behind all that is the self-talk and the like, why are we here? And it's here. I'm here because I want to have fun, and I'm actually starting to enjoy this journey. And then all the other stuff will fall by the wayside.
And I'd wonder as well with your experience with the people you work with, because I know it's more, you do classes and things like that as well. I don't, you know, would you do much sort of one-to-one with people, or is it more mainly big sort of groups?
I dip in and out of it, James.
Yeah.
I dip in and out of it. My main core is my classes, and now moving into the space of encouragement and motivation, which I really love. So it's funny, because you look at yourself and you say, well, what is, you know, when I went and decided to qualify as a PT, you know, did I go to qualify as a PT because I wanted to know how to do a squat? Not really. I just went to qualify. I learned all those things, and that was lovely. But I actually learned all those things so that I could get the certificate, so that I could motivate and encourage people. That's actually what I wanted to do, because that's the core of me. So, and I think I've always been like that. I think I've always been the person who wants to, like, okay, we can do this. Come on, let's just keep going. Let's just go. Come on, you know? And I think I just needed something to say, well, okay, here you go now.
Yeah.
Now go.
Almost the permission to do it type thing.
Yeah. So,
Because I mean, because one of the reason I was asking, because I say, as you say, people coming with those initial goals, and those sort of they're in some ways can be important, but quite surface level. You know what I mean? Whether it be a weight loss thing or what. But a part of me as well, when you're coming in and you don't know the person, more likely it's going to be you're going to share that goal than something that's potentially a bit more meaningful, a bit more deeper. So it's kind of like, so it's when people start to come along, participate, see the energy, see the fun that they have, they're more likely then to be much more open and vulnerable, and share the real reason that may be why they've come to you as well. So it takes a bit of time to build up that trust with people, I would have thought.
It does. And I think that what we tell ourselves is what our body believes. And so my original degree in the States actually was in psychology. So that was my kind of original. And I think that's probably why I have maybe that. I've always had that interest in kind of how the mind works and how behavior is so dictated by, you know, how we're thinking. And now that was a long time ago, but it's still there, I guess, in me. But I'm always saying, like, what you tell yourself is what's going to happen. You know, that it's more likely for that to happen. It's like when my kids say to me, oh, I'm not going to do well on that test. Well, you're definitely not going to do well on that test when you say that. So now you've just, you know, so it's kind of like, well, what you need to start to tell yourself, you know, I can do this. And make small little steps that way. So as I say to people, you know, start with a 10-minute walk. You know, if you want to be able to walk for an hour, don't think about the hour walk, think about the 10-minute walk, because when you put your foot outside the door, motivation is not going to come before that. Motivation is going to come when you step outside the door and you start walking and you start believing that you can do it. And then all of a sudden 10 minutes turns into 20 minutes, and 20 minutes turns into 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden they're texting me and they're saying, I've just walked a park run. I never thought that I could walk a park run. So you have to think about the step that's in front of you. And, you know, like I often sending messages of encouragement and compliments to the ladies in my classes and the clients I work with, to say, like, what a fantastic, like, that was brilliant. Well done this morning, or well done. And we'll oftentimes just, you know, women just like push that aside, and like, oh no, like that. Like, well done. You were there this morning, you know, and that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
tell yourself that. Tell yourself
Yeah.
how great you are, and then your body will start to believe it, you
Yeah.
know. So that's kind of that's, I think, really important, and a big important part of achieving goals is telling yourself that you can do it too.
100%. 100%. So I'm going to now, because you mentioned it again with intensity, you did your psychology degree in the States. So I'm going to have to ask. So obviously it's hard. And I know when you're 10, you're kind of just in that situation, and that's now. So what was it? So you went from 10 to those 10 years. So tell me about that sort of your experience of, as you say, from the countryside of County Meath to essentially New York.
And it was a bit of a culture shock, all right. Yeah, it was a bit different. But you know, it's funny because you know, it's 10 years, but I still say I'm going home, because my parents and my sisters and my nephew there and a lot of my cousins and are all over there. And so because of that, I still call it home. So it's amazing when you have that experience, you know, how it's kind of cements you. But also, like, think about who I was, you know, it's, you know, you grow, like I went through that period of all my teenage years, kind of. But I think back on that person, and I was still inside, I was still the same person. There's bits of me. Like, for example, I decided I was going to play basketball, James, because I'm tall.
Yeah.
So I said, and I'm not really actually a team sport person, really, that much. I'd never really played much team sport. But I decided, right, I'm going to play basketball. I was in high school, and I said, right, I'm going to go and do this. And I wasn't the best basketball player, James, by far. This was not the A team. This was not the top team. This was just the basketball team. I was tall. I'm going to play, you know. And I remember one time the coach decided and announced to everybody, well, we're going to assign Ursula. She's going to be the captain of the basketball team. I'm there. Me, like, there was practically everybody on the team was better than me at basketball. But actually, when I look back on it, I can kind of see why she did. And none of the girls actually disputed it. I don't remember anybody saying they wanted to be, or maybe they didn't want to be. I don't really know. But I don't remember anybody arguing about it. But actually, when I think back on it, that was because it was me. Like, because I was the person always saying, okay, guys, come on, like, we could, you know, let's go, let's go, let's do it. Come on, everybody, come on, let's go. And I think she probably saw that in me and was like, okay, we'll get her to play this role. But even me at the time, I wouldn't have been obviously self-aware enough to know. I would thought this has to go to the person who's the best basketball player. So, you know, all those little pieces of me were all still always there, whether I was here or there or wherever I was, you know. So but I still hope. So, and I have my cup here, actually, as my sister got me. That says Ireland and New York.
Very cool. Love that. Yeah, it's very good. No, because it's interesting, obviously, because it's like when you reflect back now and you think about now, that's obviously someone spotting some sort of leadership skills in yourself that you wouldn't necessarily known that you had that, or whether it be motivation or a collective or things like that people, someone spotted in you. So you said you did psychology in college. So then how soon did you then come back over to Ireland?
Well, I actually met my future husband in New York. So he was also born in the States. So he had come over from Ireland to work in the States after college. So I met him there. So we left then and headed off to Australia, and then kind of landed back in Ireland again. So that's how we sort of, now we weren't sure at the beginning whether we'd stay here or not. We were kind of between two minds about where we would go. And then we ended up staying here. And now we have a family here, and like a long time later. So yeah, that's how I ended up back here. So
certainly. No, because the reason I'm so interested is like, and what I really appreciate you sharing the story and that, like, because we can all easily make assumptions. And obviously, so my background in the sense of, like, I was born in Germany. So I was born, my father was a civil servant who, he was a social worker. He joined essentially he got a role as a civil servant in the Ministry of Defence, the British Ministry of Defence. The role that he took with, though, was on a British military base in the northwest of Germany. Wow. the closest major city would have been Dusseldorf. The next one would have been Mönchengladbach. So I grew up essentially on a British military base in the northwest of Germany, and I lived there. My
What
parents
age,
lived
James?
till I went to university. So my
Wow.
parents lived there for 21 years. I was there for so I was like whatever 19, 18. So I went to university just outside of Liverpool. That's where I met my better half, who's from Ireland. And then so when we finished college or whatever university, I then basically followed her back to Ireland and back in 05. So
Okay.
because it's the interesting again when it's like obviously the age you were doing it is like I was that was just my life, because people ask them and I was like, sure, I didn't know, that's just where I grew up. So it's interesting where you say you call America, you still call the States home. So my home was Germany. That was home. Like I think I was telling someone else, like if I was to mash all the time that I've lived in England or the UK together in my 40 odd years, it's only about 2.5 years. Like I've never lived there. So England isn't, that's where my family are, that's where they all are, like, you know, but that's not home, like, you know, I mean, in Ireland 18 years. So it's I find it interesting when people have had those experiences of living in different places and experiencing it, how it can shape you differently.
Yeah. And actually, this is something, now that you've said that, James, and I didn't know that about you. So now that you've said that, this is probably something that you can really relate to. So in Ireland, people love to ask you where you're from.
Yeah.
They love to ask you where you're from. So
Yeah.
people say to me, where are you from, Ursula?
Yeah, look, is that
and
way?
I go, oh, here we go. Here we go. And it starts, well, I was born in the States, because I was born in the States, by the way, James. I was born in the States and I was a year old. And then we moved here and I lived here for 10 years. And then when I was 11, I moved back to the States. I lived there from the age of 11 to 21. Then I went to Australia and then I came back here. So I'm 48, James. 10 of my years were spent in the US. I was born in the US. 10 of my years are spent in the US. And 38 of my years have been spent here in Ireland. But am I Irish?
I know.
Like, I don't have a county that I can relate. Well, I'm not from, I kind of am from Dublin, but I'm not really from Dublin.
I
so
know,
people, and as soon as you answer the question, people love to say, oh, you're a whatever.
Yeah.
You're a dub, or you're a,
yeah.
But I'm not. And I sort of, but then again, I don't really say I'm from New York either, because I don't have then they get all confused because I don't have an American accent. So then it just confuses them. So I know you can relate to that.
Yeah, totally.
Where are you from is a big question.
Well, that's it, especially because it's like, because my accent will just throw them entirely, like, you know, because it's like certain words will sound very, very English, certain words will sound very, very Irish, you know. If anyone into England, I sound Irish. Anyone over here, I still sound very English, you know. And but then certain words and phrases, and it throws, and you can just see, like you say, that where are you from? Is that puppy head turned to the side sort of when they ask the question type thing. But interesting enough, though, is like literally, what was it, 2 months ago, maybe, that I actually got through my Irish citizenship, came through. So I actually applied to get it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So actually, no, it was kind of like, it was partly because of, like, you could say Brexit and all that sort of stuff, but also as well, like, well, I have been living here for so long now, I'm unlikely to go back, and well, not even back, it's not even going back. I live in the UK. So yeah, and I was actually, when I got it, I was actually, I was really proud to get it. Like, I didn't know what I would feel, you know what I mean? It was one of those. So it was actually quite a really nice thing to get. But yeah, I digress. We could talk with, see, because this is the thing, is like, no one else, they're the only two people who are getting this conversation, you know,
100%. I've met a handful of people who, like yourself now, can relate to that question, because I get it all the time, and sometimes I just say Dublin.
It's just
Dublin. Because I'm just like, I can't get into this.
Yeah, I don't have the time to go through the whole thing. I know. So,
but I would still say that home, as I said, James, I would still say, like, my parents are in the States, and I would still say when I'm going to the States, I still say I'm going home.
I love it. I love it. And so when did the love for, I say, it sounds like you've always had a love for sort of getting fit and being fit and having that in your life. When did it become the sort of what it is now, when you think, oh, actually, I'm going to do this as to earn a living from it, or to set up a business? When did that come about?
Yeah, well, there's two parts to this story. So we're talking probably 5 years ago now, when we were in Dublin first, and we weren't married yet, but we were living out in Blackrock actually at the time. And I decided that I would go, and that was it. I was going to qualify as a fitness instructor because it was what I always wanted to do.
Yep.
And I was working in the IT industry at the time, working in HR, and it was great. But I said, no, I'm going to go and do this. So I went every weekend. It was actually a fantastic course at the time. For 6 months, I'd go every day, every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. And I just loved it. It was like as if you had just put me down into a playground. And I was a kid again. Like this was just, I was so excited. And then, so I finished that. And then, I don't know, it was funny. I kind of had this idea I was going to go and do something, and then just life happened, and we sort of said, right, we're going to buy a house and mortgage, and kind of thought I can't really justify going and working, doing this full time. I'll do it. I'll do it. And I filed it away in the filing cabinet, James, put it away. And I said, I'll do that sometime. And just before, it was just the end of 2019. And I'd worked in a couple of different areas, and with 4 wonderful kids. So it was a home with them and working at the same time, and part-time jobs and different things. And then I said, right, towards the end of 2019, I said, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to go back to my passion. This is what I've always wanted to do. So I was sieving through the filing cabinet, finding the qualification, dusting it off a little bit. And I said, I called up the insurance and the whole lot, and I said, right, everything was all good. And I went and I booked 2 halls locally.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to just teach some classes locally and see how this goes. So I remember walking in for my first class in January 2020, and I left and I thought, oh my gosh, all my Christmases have come into one. This is the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, the way they say, oh, you find the thing that you're meant to do. And I was there going, this is it. I cannot believe I'm actually doing this.
Yeah.
This is like amazing. And all I was doing was teaching a class and encouraging people. And but it was like, I was just so excited. Yeah. So then I booked up my next 6-week term for the next, and I was about to go into another time and do a third time in the week, and then just start to build it up. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, look, it wasn't such a big deal, James. I kind of thought it was only going to be a short period of time. And then I did use the time actually to upgrade my qualification. So I decided to go and get my qualification also in personal training, so that I could work one-to-one, because at the time it was just like group instruction and everything else. So I did use the time to upgrade that. And then as it dragged on, and I knew I wasn't going to be getting face-to-face, that's when I started to just plug in Zoom. So this is my little studio in my garage out back here in the back of the house. And I started in the living room.
Yes.
Much to my family's disagreement of listening to me downstairs at 6:30 a.m. during lockdown. It's not a nice place to be. You say that to any of my kids, they're like, oh, Mom, you were very loud. I'm quite loud, and I'm encouraging people. So eventually I moved back here, and so now I teach 7 classes a week online, all on Zoom. And I started to run lots of kind of online encouragement and motivation programs and different things as well, all the way through. So I'm about to go back face-to-face again, hopefully, very, very soon. But at the moment, what I'm doing mainly is my Zoom classes, and the membership people come, and they're from all over. So it's fantastic. They don't have to be here in, my local area now. So they could be anywhere in Ireland or outside Ireland. So that's what makes it, really, really nice. So I get to talk to people who are, in all different, dotted around the country in lots of different places and everything.
Yeah. So that's really cool. And I think it's again, like so many people that I've spoken to as well, the transition or the change before you get to where the thing, so those, as you say, the decisions that you had to make or you made because of, as you say, life just being what it was, in sense of that whether commitments, decisions you had to make and choices and stuff. But what's really nice about the story you shared is the fact that you kind of like, you know what, there came a point where you're like, no, I have to do this now.
Yeah.
So that is because it's that thing of, as opposed to be on the never never, and it's like, oh, that I'd love to do that one day, that sort of, I'd love to do that. Was there a point where, did you ever think at a point where actually, that ship has sailed? Did it ever sort of really, did you ever cross your mind?
That's a good question. It probably did quite a bit, actually. And it probably did because the timing wasn't right, so it probably did cross my mind that ship was sailed. But it's a really interesting question to ask people, like, what would you do if you could do the one thing that you really, really love and like get paid for it? Like, what would that thing be? And probably if you had asked me that at any stage in the last 25 years, I would have said to you, oh, I'd be a fitness instructor. I'd be a fitness instructor. And like, so yeah, I guess it's just lots and lots of reasons why the timing isn't right. And then when the timing is right and the universe aligns and everything works out, then maybe it does feel all that much better then, because you're ready for it. And as I say to people, this is me. This is what I'll be doing when I'll be 95, and this will be me, because I'm finally doing what is, it's just 100% me. And when all the ladies are on at 6:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the evening or whatever time, and I see them all coming on, it's like little lights going off of me, like, oh, and I just get ready to go. And I think this is exactly where I want to be.
Yeah. And I think it's the way you say that, put it there in the sense of the whole thing of timing, because I think it's a really important thing to highlight, because we can get into this sort of belief that, or this idea that, oh, no, you have to do it now. If you don't do it now, it'll be gone forever. There's you can't wait for the perfect time. You have to just, this sort of gun ho almost, maybe that's my word, but sort of approach of thinking, oh no, that you can lead into that, whatever, the scarcity mindset type thing, or thinking, oh, if you don't do it now, you never will type approach. And part of me is like, yes, and then part of me is like, no, because it's great to be able to sort of do something that you really love, absolutely, 100%. But also there's a reality to the way we live, and in the reality, in a sense of the choices we make and the lifestyle that we want and the responsibility we've taken on. So it's okay to balance that. Do you know what I mean?
There
has to be.
I think like, if the time isn't right, then you may, I don't want to use, it sounds like this is very negative to say this, but like you might ruin it on yourself. Is that like, you're not going to ruin it, but like,
no, I know what you mean.
Maybe the beauty is going to be gone from it because you won't be able to embrace it. And I guess, COVID was a little bit, from my business point of view, was a little bit of a gift to me to start this. I mean, if 5 years ago somebody had said to you, I'd handed somebody a business plan and it said, well, I'm going to, teach these fitness classes online, and they're all going to click into this online thing called Zoom, and they're all going to work out from their living room, people would be like, you've got to be joking me. Nobody's going to do that. Zoom, what are you talking about? Or so that's a ridiculous business plan. And now you kind of go, hang on a second, COVID gave me a gift that people began to see the convenience of it. And it's very convenient for people. They're just like clicking with their cup of tea on at 6:25, getting themselves ready. They don't have to leave the house. They don't have to do anything. Maybe it's 7 o'clock in the evening and they've just come in from the kids' training, or they've just come in from wherever, and they can literally just press the button and they've spent 30 minutes with me and now they're finished. And they can move on to the next thing in their busy lives. And I think COVID maybe showed us that we can do that. Now, it's not for everybody. It doesn't have to be for everybody. But it showed us a different way that maybe does suit some people.
100%.
And that's great.
But if it's also, I think it also goes back to the first point in relation to what you're trying to do to help these women. And going back to that example you shared about the sort of that initial sort of wanting the handbook when you're in the States, that that initial, I'm not sure if this is the right place, I'm not sure if I'm that sort of, and that perspective that a lot of women have in the fitness world or the industry into a gym, by doing the way you're doing it, it gives them a step into this. It gives them a way into this world. And maybe those, I don't know, you might be able to share, have any of those women gone on to do other things? You know what I mean? Like they could start, some I'm sure stay, and that's what they do, is the convenience. But is there any, if you've got any examples where the women have then completely sort of come out of their shells and gone on to other stuff?
Yeah, well, there's lots of examples where, I've been their sort of step up.
Yeah.
And now they have the confidence to know that they can build strength, that they can walk, they can hike, they can run, they can do lots of things. But there's an awful lot of actually more simple wins. So yes, to answer your question, yes, there has been, James, that they've come and said, you know what, I've got my mojo back, Ursula, and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, just fantastic. I'm delighted. Go for it. But more than anything, I love the women that tell me the things that they can do in their everyday life that they weren't able to do before. And that without even realizing that they were becoming stronger. And I think strength is a big part of what I do as well, because I want people to know that women to know that they can be strong. They can actually make themselves stronger, and it's really good for you. And actually it's really important for you to make yourself stronger as you age. But like, I remember this, one lady telling me once that she used to be the person, when she got onto the airplane, she'd be the person that somebody would say, would you like me to take your bag and put it on the overhead compartment? Whereas she says, now I'm the one who says, can I take your bag? Can I put it on the overhead compartment? And she's like, I'm stronger now. So I'm more able. I can do all these things because I'm more able. And they're the ones that really, like, I'm like, boom,
But
there's
there's actually a lot of richness in that story, isn't there? It's really, because it's almost like that example there, it's almost like the unsung celebration of being able to do something. It's like, as much as doing something like going into doing an event or something, or going, people do that, but they say something that seems so innocuous and so simple, but for that lady, what a transformation.
And that was the things when people say to me, like, they're shopping, or they grab their shopping and run out to the car, and their life is easier. And they're not like, I'm not like, putting them through their paces at the gym. That's not what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is offering them a space that's safe, that they feel that they're encouraged, and that they can build their strength and their fitness. But what I'm saying that is, the reason I'm saying that is because that's exactly what my values are. That's what's important to me. So what's important to me is that they're coming to me feeling like they're safe, and that they're going to be comfortable, and they're going to be okay, and everything, I'm going to show them what to do. I'm going to show them everything they need to know, and that will make their life so much easier. So
do you think, obviously, because you say, like, you've been in and out of the industry for, when you first qualified, for 20, 25 years, you were saying, what, in your experience, when you did it before and when you're doing it now, do you think the industry has shifted and moved on in any way?
Oh, listen, I'll just say 2 words, James. Social media. I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Yes, I think the industry has moved on a lot, like, from the point of view of muscle and strength. I mean, what I did, my more current training, because actually, to do my more current training, the way they do it now is you become a fitness instructor and a personal trainer together. So it's a combined certificate, whereas at the time you became a fitness instructor. It was quite a detailed course, but you became an instructor. So I guess I learned how to be an instructor again. So that was
Yeah.
really interesting because it was part of the course. I figured, here we'll go for it. So there was a lot more around strength. So you'd do a lot more like body pump, and you'd learn a lot more about strength. Whereas back in the day, it was a lot more like step aerobics and aerobics, which, by the way, should never die because it's great fun. And, you know, I'm still doing grapevines in my classes every so often because I don't think that should ever go. It's the best fun ever. Like, so we have to have a bit of fun. But social media is just it's heartbreaking for the consumer of all this fitness information, and how to digest all this and how to know what to do is really the big difference, because everybody is coming on and they know the one thing, you know. And I said it before, James, there is no one way. There's no one way. There is what's going to work for you. And that sounds so like petty, or sounds like this is going to work for you, but actually it really does. And if somebody finds that walking early in the morning works for them, that's going to work for them. But if I go to person B and I say to them, you have to walk early in the morning for you to be successful in this journey, and they're not a morning person, what's that going to do to them now, James? Now they're going to think, oh, I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to be able to get up in the morning. They might kill themselves for a week and be flat out. But they're an evening person. They're a night person. They enjoy to walk at 6 p.m. So go walk at 6 p.m. if that's what suits you. So, but whereas social media has us all believing that there's only one way that everybody has to do, and there's only one way we all have to look, and that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's almost at this kind of way you're saying, like this juxtaposition in some ways of like, because it said like I qualified, I did it myself, but in 2015, 2016, and I did it both as the PT and the fitness instruction, just because I was interested. I was getting into my own sort of fitness sort of thing at the time, and what I was doing more endurance stuff than gym stuff. So I was doing Ironman and triathlon at the time, and marathons and things like that. But I was teaching running groups and stuff like that. So I wanted to learn about it and qualify, and it's something I always had in the back of my head. So I did it, and I did it part-time for a couple of years, PTing and fitness instruction and stuff, and really enjoyed it. I worked in one of the gyms out of Dublin part-time. But to me, though, the shift was more holistic than just fitness side of stuff. And that's why I wanted to explore more into coaching. But the thing is where like the juxtaposition with social media is like the science within your training that you would have done, because I would have known the fitness, the real evaluation you would have done, the science behind strength, the science behind getting into fitness went up another level. Like it's you know, any most basic fitness instruction now is at another level, like because of the advancements we've had and the knowledge we know. But it's almost the marketing hasn't shifted with that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like it's still the perception now that strength is equal to this body look, this body image, whereas you know yourself that strength has nothing to do with the way someone looks, you know, but it's how you're able to break through that to find the person that you know you can help, and tell them like, stop looking at this over here and listen. And what you're doing is listen, experience this. It's not about the look, you know.
And it's also to find ways to because it's so some people might be motivated by maybe what they see as a look that they want. Okay, that's fine. That is a motivation for some people. But it's finding other ways to gently motivate people as well. I'll give you an example. So we have just in my class this week, I don't do this that often, but every so often I'll do it. And in our classes this week, we have put on a little mini challenge. And I said, well, if we come on for 3 live classes, if you come on for 3 live classes a week, then we'll pop you and your team member into a draw for a medal. Okay. And then, you'll get a medal. Now I have medals. I have them here in my cabinet here. I keep medals all the time.
Yeah.
And because I ran a summer camp this summer too, where we had medals, and every week
Yeah.
was different challenges for medals and simple things, just like
Yeah.
walking and doing small things. And then you'd be part of a team. But it's incredible what that does. What it does is it now gives people just that little gentle motivation that says, okay, I'll do that this week now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Ursula, pop me in for the challenge this week. I'll do that. Okay. And then the second thing is sometimes we mightn't have the energy and the motivation to do something for ourselves all the time. But we won't want to let our team down.
Yes.
So we won't want to let the other person on our team down. And sometimes I don't even realize that I'm doing this. I just kind of start doing these things because I feel like, let's have a bit of fun with this. Like, let's have a bit of crack, as you say.
Yeah.
Because it's not about, go hard or go home, this business of like, okay, come on, like tough love, what are you here for? Actually just, it's nearly the opposite of me.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that maybe that works for some people, and that's fantastic. If it works for you and you can find a space that you can get that motivation from, that's great. But if you don't get motivation from that, where is the space? And sometimes the space can be found in the little bits of gentle motivation that says, okay, I really would love to see you on. Would you like to pair up with a few more people? And maybe you guys would like to come on, and then all go into a draw for a medal and water bottle maybe at the end of the week. And then we'll have a week of a little bit of extra motivation.
Yeah.
So I didn't learn that in the PT course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't really learn those things, but you have to sometimes, I think, get creative about engaging with the people that are coming to work with you, because it's more fun that way.
Yeah.
That's
and I think
the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes some people might be listening thinking, oh, that sounds a bit cheesy or corny or whatever, and that. But whenever I go think of these things and those sorts of things, it's like, but it's in those small little things that people dismiss or don't think are that important, are what people gravitate to. They are so important. I guarantee there's people that have come to your class, they'll be like, but I've never won a medal before. So to them, like to someone else, they might think, well, that's not why is that a big deal? But for someone else, like, if you're a person, and when I've spoken to different people, who's like that they never achieved, they were never the sporty person at school or through college. They never got picked for anything, never thought they could do it. They never thought, so there was not a danger of them winning a certificate, let alone a medal. To someone else, it might seem the most pointless thing in the world, but for that person, that motivation, and if it's a benefit to that person, keeps them coming to the class, helps build their strength, gives them more support, I'm like, well, why wouldn't it be a good thing?
Yeah,
do you know
exactly.
what I mean? It's so important. And to me, then it means that the people that you're working with and what really does make them feel that they're valued.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, it doesn't have to be for everybody, but if some people want to come and they want to join in and do that, and they would find some gentle motivation and encouragement, and I'm only delighted, like anything that we, like the summer camp, we ran a little summer camp over the summer for 7 weeks for our members. And again, it was all about small little things like sleeping well and learning to manage our stress a little bit, and learning that we, can cook some lovely healthy meals together, and celebrating all those things. And yes, there was medals. And like, it was just fun.
Yeah.
And like, why not is what I say. Like, 100%. Why not make things just a little bit more fun sometimes? Because Absolutely. It doesn't have to be so serious.
100%.
What have you done today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. There's no fun at all. because obviously we've touched on it, obviously, because this is now, obviously, this is your thing, this is your business. So I really like, I'm really interested as well when people, because, and so many things happened, all people started through businesses, through COVID and the experience that they have. And it in some ways has shaped what your business is at the moment and how it's been for the last number of years. But from, obviously, there's no doubting your passion and everything for fitness and the classes. But if I was to then sort of get you to take that hat off and put the business hat on, what
Yeah.
sort of would you say of your experiences of learning, of trying to like run a business?
Yeah, wow. God, that's been such a journey, James, and it's not my first one either. I think that 100% probably the big lesson that I've learned is that you, even though you love it, even though it's a passion, you have to charge for it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe other business owners might relate to this, in that sometimes if you're working in the thing that you would do for free, okay, what happens then is you find it difficult to charge people for it. So that's been a journey for me, I think. And I think that, like, there's no doubt, I know that people get value, but I just feel like, but I'm just being me. I'm just doing what I love. So why should I be charging people for that? So what's the biggest lesson that I would say to people who are starting their own business, or somebody who is maybe starting out on that journey, is that is a journey. First of all, you won't come there right away. I think it is a journey, and I don't think I'm even there yet. Okay, because, and I think that probably the people that are most guilty of it are the people that are doing the thing that they just love so much. So they don't feel like it's work. So therefore they don't feel like they should be charging people for that service. When in actual fact, they're the ones who are so passionate, who are the ones that people actually want to go to, because they're the ones who actually love what they're doing. So I think that's probably been one of the biggest lessons I'm learning through this as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it in hindsight, it almost sounds so obvious, but it's actually for a lot, and including myself, including this, it's a big mind shift. It's a real shift that you have to be able to take and really go with. And I think that it covers a huge amount, as you say in yourself, of well, sure, I would do it. It's that sort of passion thing and that, but there's an element of then of the, as you say, understanding your own value and your own worth and really putting it out there. And I find that this is the next question I have then, is like, when you kind of really started to embrace that, in a sense of like, you have to charge, and I think your model is you do it on a membership basis type thing. What was the actual then sort of real feelings when people actually started to sign up? When you put it out there and like, I'm charging this as a membership, and you got those first few people who actually like set up whatever, like pay their fee. What was that actually like?
Oh, listen here, James, that started from the first time when I opened up doing the two classes here locally. That people showed up and they were on a list and they handed me money and they were going to come to my class every week. I mean, I was just there kind of going, like, I felt like I was sitting in somebody else's body, like somebody else is there. They want me to do this. And then when I transitioned to doing things online, and then people contacted me, said, oh yeah, no, Ursula, I'd love to do that. Sounds brilliant. And I'm going, they just told me they wanted to do this. Like, they just said they wanted to do this, I don't know. It's a really surreal feeling. And I know that there's probably people again who are maybe working in their passion or in their area, and it does, but then you do have to keep, and it is a little bit like moving a mountain with the whole, like, again, because you're working in the thing that you love, it's a little bit like a slow moving mountain, that mind shift. It shifts slowly over time. I don't think it just shifts one day. I think it just slowly shifts as you start to work more and have more expertise and start to realize your clientele and start to realize the people that you love working with. And then you start to really kind of find your happy space, and I think that's where I'm getting to now. So I'm not there yet, James.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a bit too much fun sometimes to think
Yeah.
strategically. So that's my problem.
Yeah. But I think it goes back to as well that the whole thing what we were saying earlier about the whole thing of time as well, like and that sort of that reality of, and I don't know if I'm going to complete paraphrase it, and I'm sure many people, but I think it was for me from was Tony Robbins. It was like the people, as he says, people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. You know, and it's that thing of like, when the timing is right, or if it takes you however long it takes whatever it's whatever you can commit to, what you can do. And as you say, and instead of looking for that sort of other cliche, looking for the perfect shot or that one thing that's going to be the cliche of the overnight success or whatever, it's that consistency of showing up and doing it bit by bit. And I'm sure if you were kind of like, you probably don't record them, but if you looked at the first Zoom fitness class you did to what you do now, the same way, if I watch back over the first interview I did on this show to what I did now, and but it was what at that time was the best that you could do at that time. So it's allowing, as you say, that gradual shift and that gradual move, whatever it is, as a instructor or as a person in business.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, you're kind of, your core values are all still there. Like, so you can still see the person there, but it's like there's a shift in how you're operating or something. You're just operating in a different, there's a big step when you get your website that's up and running, and you think, right, okay, now I'm legit. I've got a website, this is real now, and you really have to tell yourself, like, keep logging in and going, yeah, no, that's my website. Yeah, that's me. That's what I'm actually doing. And that's it's a bit surreal. Can be a bit surreal at times because you don't believe it. But it's still early days, just but it's great.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things I always like to ask my guests, Ursula, is about quotes and phrases, because I think they can be very powerful, and think they can really shift ourselves. So are there any quotes or phrases that are important to you?
Well, there's one that I love. My mother-in-law used to always say this, and she used to come and mind the kids, and I'd always be so grateful to her for minding the kids. And she'd always say back, "It's so good to be able." And I love that saying. I love that it's to celebrate this feeling of the small, to be able to do the small things, and that they build over time, and they are, bigger things. And I'll always say to people, when you've done something, or if you just like celebrate and say, like, it's so good to be able. And that's, to me, that's a saying that always sat with me and stays with me, and I love it.
It kind of then, it very much leans into the world of gratitude, that phrase. It reminds me of I don't know if you know of Jerry Duffy.
I have. Yes.
And he always shares I don't, because he was running was his kind of big thing, and that, like, and his thing is like, I don't have to run, I get to run. So it reminds me of that sort of thing, as you say. Isn't it great to be able? It's that really puts you into that mindset of having that absolute gratitude that you're in a position to do what you do. Yeah, absolutely.
And it really resonates with me, and oftentimes you're thinking it, and sometimes you're thinking it when you're out running, and your mind is telling you things, and you're just kind of going, I could do this, like, I'm able. So
yeah, absolutely. So with that then, so are there any other people you say that would have had a big influence on you, Ursula?
That's an interesting question, James, and it's funny because I'm probably going to do a little twist on this one, if that's okay, because it's kind of more actually what influences me influences me and my message probably is actually more like the opposite of that, nearly. Okay, so I mentioned the whole social media thing, and what's out there. So what influences me actually is all of the not the negative messages.
Yeah.
Negative is not the word. Okay. So all of the kind of procured messages that are out there that are being given to people to like kind of click on and go with, because this is going to be the one thing, or this is going to be your answer, and pay this and you can get this. And actually the thing that influences me the most is that I want to be that other voice that says, like, actually it's none of those things. Come here, come on, just let's go have a little bit of fun and let's enjoy ourselves. So what influences me actually is the just getting back to basics, and all of this noise that's over there just trying to, like, it nearly is influencing me to do the opposite. So I hope that's I'm not like actually answering your question, but I thought about it, and actually that is what is influencing me, because influencer is this whole thing out there, you know. Are you an influencer? And no, I'm not, but like that's what drives me.
No, and I think it's a really powerful perspective as well, though, because and I was actually talking to someone else earlier as well about the concept of an influencer versus being influenced. And the whole thing of, when I was saying to this person earlier, is the idea of we can be inspired or influenced by someone, but by a behavior or an action. And it's the idea of wanting, when I see it as someone who has either influenced me or inspired me, it's kind of like, because it's that whole thing of seeing something in them that I want to see in myself, but as a positive thing. And from what I was saying, from what you were saying there in relation, it's like the other things that seem to be getting the loudest voice at the moment, especially in the industry that you're in, is coming from a place that still at the moment feels that it's putting people, that is making them do it out of feeling bad for themselves, bad about themselves, versus thinking, hey, you could be having great fun. So the influence is coming from this negative perspective, or trying to hone in on someone's negative perception of themselves to sell them something. Versus, so what you're trying to do is almost the antithesis of that, and going, no, this can come from within and be a joyous thing, versus this. So you're trying to say, be the outlier in that voice of that world. That's where I'm hearing it.
Yeah, that's exactly it, James. And unfortunately, in that media, in that space, it's not clickbait. It's not like, what's the one word, what's the one sentence, what's the tagline, there is none. So it's like this slow, consistent, beautiful enjoyment of life and movement and all that we can do, rather than you can look like this, you can be like this, you can look like this person, you can, it's like, oh, for goodness sake, like, how do you get the message across in real terms? And so I struggle with it, but I think that I always just go back to like who I am all the time. Just when I'm in doing my videos or on Facebook and I'm just talking as me, and what I really do believe in, which is that, you know, you have to talk to yourself positively. You have to tell yourself that you don't have to do anything, actually. You know, you're going to put yourself in a much better position and a much happier and joyful position when you speak to yourself positively. And also when you have a little bit of encouragement and motivation and a little bit of support behind you, you can take so many little small steps, because every 1% adds up to another percent and another percent, and you just start to feel so much better about yourself. But how do you put that in one sentence in a click?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's that thing of like, there's that element of, as you say, staying true to you and your message in that, versus there's that constant battle of trying to grow as a business, trying to impact and have a positive impact on more people, but also kind of in some ways they're not selling yourself out either. Like, do you know what I mean? It has to be you, it has to be what you're trying to do. So it's and I think that comes back to, again, the previous thing about moving the mountain internally as you're a self person, but it's like the whole thing of the business is the consistency, the showing up, and that sort of allowing the ripple of whatever it to take its place, like, and knowing, I suppose, though, in a sense of going back to the whole sort of that outside influence, I'd say, is it a big motivation for yourself as well, though, that sort of trying to be that, what, sticking to what's important to you about this sort of industry, and getting your message across? Is that a big motivator for you?
It absolutely is. Yeah, it's a big motivation, definitely, James. I think it definitely, but it's a challenge sometimes, because it's like you're trying to fit sometimes a square peg into a circular hole, circular peg into a square hole, whatever.
Whichever way.
There's one of those analogies. So, like, I'm in the social media space, and I'm still there speaking to my audience and telling them about what they can get from me. But I'm trying to tell them what they can get from me, but I can't tell them that in a 30-second video where they can click and say, you can have this if you click here. Because I could do that, James, like everybody else. But I couldn't. I don't even think I could. Actually, I couldn't, because it's just so it's just not genuine, and it's not, I don't know. So it can be hard, I just think, because I'm still operating in social media. So I'm still in there. So people expect to hear a certain message from you.
Yes.
They expect me to launch the next diet, or they expect me to launch the next big, fitness regime that's going to change their life in 6 weeks, when actually it won't, because nothing really will, because everything will happen over time. But let's start to enjoy it. So, but how do you do that? So
but I think and then that's the as you say, it's the ongoing challenge to be sort of like, you need that is the sort of way of the modern world. As a small business owner, as social media is a platform that in some ways is a necessity. And I think it still has massive positives and potential in that. And it's getting the right message out to the right people. But from what I obviously see of you online, and that, I still think what you're doing is incredible and amazing. And I think it massively positive. And I've spoken to a lot of, quite a few people in the fitness industry now on this podcast, from who are in different spaces. And everyone that I've spoken to so far has, everyone's had this sort of theme, which surprised me from people that I've spoken to within the fitness industry on this show, is this shift of collective of, it's more than the weight, the lift, the inch, the dress, the t-shirt, the look. There's this massive shift. It's much more about things like what you're doing, in a sense of from fun, support, celebration. Community is becoming a massive thing, I think, within this space. The building up that sort of, so many people actually are seeing now that they're moving away from, like, you say 6-week program, 12-week program, to no, I'm going to work with you for 6 months, a year, for whatever it is. It's like the continuation, building up that sort of real relationship with a person that's supporting them, so I think it's, as much as it's maybe not seen as much as you would hope and we'd hope, I still think there is a massive shift going on within the industry.
You know what, I think there is too, now that you say it, James, and I do speak to people and other people in the industry who have that same kind of core belief too, so I do think it's going there. And and I do get, like, your message does get, like, I get the odd message sometimes on social media, and I had someone message me there recently and just say, I watch your videos and I've been starting to walk every day, and you're just like, okay, thank you for telling me that, first of all. And second of all, like, I'm delighted. And if you just do that for yourself for the next short while, you've no idea what a gift you're giving to yourself.
Yeah.
And the power of that, like simple things are the winners there.
Yeah.
James, simple things are actually what really, it's not actually, doesn't have to be exciting and jazzy. It's actually simple things repeated over time actually is the thing that's the most powerful. And then as you repeat them, they become habit and they become so much more joyful. And then you just want to do them more. You know, like one of the things we had over the summer camp, which I thought was really fun, was, you know, as part of they would get different points for different things they would do as part of a team. And one of the things was that you would get a certain credits for if you walked in a new location. Okay, so now you had people, because I do this sometimes. I'll go and travel somewhere and be like, okay, we've got to find somewhere. Let's go figure this. Let's go for a walk wherever we are, and let's figure it out. And let's look at this new place. So I was trying to encourage people to have that kind of perspective, is that like when you go somewhere new, this is a new opportunity to walk and discover somewhere different and incorporate your new lifestyle and your healthy approach to like everywhere that you go on holidays. It's going to be a great opportunity. So it's just so much fun. Like I get see all these people taking selfies in different places where they were and discovering new places. And that to me was like, there's my message now.
Yeah.
We're bringing this into life. Like you're bringing this into your everyday life and you're starting to enjoy it now. And so that was lovely.
Yeah. I think as well, and this is probably for myself, and maybe you'll also have to share this as sometimes as well, this experience of whatever content you may be putting out across your social media platforms, and you say, and then you get that odd message of someone who says, oh, thank you, and they've made a change in relation to what they've done. There's always this, sometimes it absolutely, because it's the nature of the beast of putting out content online, you can think that, geez, am I talking to the wall? Am I saying this to anyone? Is anyone even getting this? Is this landing? Is it, you know, and you kind of remind yourself, well, you're putting it out because you think that's the right thing to put out, not because you want people to react. You're putting it out because you think this is going to make a difference, and regardless, you don't need that validation. And then when you do get it, and you go, Jesus, I didn't even know you were watching it or looking at it. You know, I've had people when there was a times where it's like, oh, I haven't been able to go back on. I remember when I was a couple of years ago, I was doing like house renovations in this house we are in now. So it was like 6 months. So I was like, well, I can't put a thing up because I'm knocking down walls, or I'm fitting in a bathroom, or I'm a builder for 6 months. It's like, I can't do anything on. And then I started putting stuff on. They were like, oh, where have you been? I was like, I didn't even know you followed it. Like, you know, so there's an element, I think, of sometimes, as hard as it can be, it's like that consistency of showing up, because there are people who are watching that you may never hear from, but you have actually influenced and impacted on themselves.
Yeah. People say to me, oh, I watch your videos. And I'm like, oh, do you?
Yeah, exactly.
What did I say? Or what did I say? That day, you know? But generally speaking, I just say the thing that's in the forefront of my mind, because I usually have something to say. I'm not quiet. I always have something to say. But when I go out for my walks, I just, whatever the first thing is that comes to the front of my mind, and I start talking about it, and that's it then, you know. And then I think, God, which was the thing that I thought of that they watched? What was it they said again? You know?
Yeah. No, Ursula, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. I do have one more question. Before I ask that final question, I want to make sure that people continue to support you and continue to be able to find you online. So we will make sure all your links are shared in the notes. But if you want to give a shout out now, where can people find you online?
Well, they can find me on my website, moveitfitness.ie, all one word, Move It Fitness. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Move It Fur House. So I live in Fur House. So that was my original tag when I was first starting out my local classes. So Move It Fur House. You'll find me on Facebook and Instagram if you want to see my videos about the first thing that comes to my head when I walk out the door in the morning.
Brilliant. Fantastic. And I say all those links are going to be in the show notes, so you'll be able to follow and connect with Ursula using them. So thanks again, Ursula. I do have one more question for you, and that is, what's important for your future?
I think what's really important, actually, this is probably maybe a little bit more of a selfish one, but it ties into my business as well. But what's important for me for the future is to continue to be able. So it's like a little insurance policy that you place for yourself when you can build a little bit of fitness and a little bit of a foundation. And so for me, what's really important is that I'm strong and able all the way through until I'm 95 here teaching out in my studio. So yeah, what's important to me is to continue to build that foundation for me and for all the clients that come work with me, like this little foundation, this little insurance policy that will help them and build with them up till old age, so that you're able. So continue to be able. So that's where I see myself.
That's brilliant. As I say, Ursula, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Thank you so much for chatting and joining me on the show.
Thank you, James, very much for having me on.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. I really hope you enjoyed the conversation. To support the show, please subscribe on your favorite platform, share your favorite episode, get involved with your comments, and give the show a rating. If you want to learn more about what I do, you can follow me at James Dean Coaching on Facebook and Instagram, connect with me on LinkedIn, or check out my website, jamesdeancoaching.com.